All right, here we go with another episode of the Building Freedom Podcast. Today, I have a special guest with me. Before we get to Florentine, we're doing this episode first time ever at IBS, the International Builders Show in Orlando, Florida, 2026. So this is very cool. We've been on the floor here. We're recording this for our podcast, but also for YouTube. So we're shooting the video here. We've done a handful of these over the last few days. Today, it is day 3. It's 4 p.m. Things are even wrapping up here as we're recording this. So it's super cool to have Florentine with us. And you're with Sidekick Homes. It's your business at Sidekick Homes and specialist in ADU. Want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about, what you're doing and what brought you here today.
Absolutely. So I'll just start, depending on the region of the country people are in, they may not know what an ADU or accessory dwelling unit is. But in the state of California, the laws have changed in the last few years to allow people to build an additional unit on their property, and sometimes multiple additional units, even if it's an R1 zoning that would traditionally only allow single family. And they've done it, kind of in the urban areas where we're out of land to build on, really. And we need to create that infill, or calling it missing middle housing.
It's so important today with the shortage of land that we have. And I think it's a brilliant move, and you saw this as an opportunity for your own business, but you're kind of like, you're taking this to another level for yourself. So I want to understand how, you're kind of at the level you're involved in the ADU space today is so beyond what normal builder is. So maybe you can tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. And there have been a lot of opportunities coming into basically an emerging market. And it was an emerging market in California over the last about, 6 to 8 years. And it's an emerging market across the country right now. There are already 10 other states that have statewide ADU legislation, and it's really just rolling nationwide. But I saw it was an opportunity to get in at the ground level in an industry that I felt uniquely qualified for. Just with, past experience working in construction, lending, real estate, project management, et cetera. I said, I know a thing or two about this. Let me jump in and be at the foreground. But what that's really afforded me is to be able to network with some of the people that are now leaders in this industry space, to get very involved with the industry associations that are getting the legislation passed and creating standards for our industry. I've been fortunate to work as an instructor for the ADU Academy, which is training people on ADUs from, especially there are leaders in other markets that have been doing ADUs longer than us, specifically Portland, Oregon, that were able to come and educate us. And now we get to pay that forward and educate, new ADU builders in the space. So I think getting into this industry very early has really enabled me to step into roles because there wasn't anyone there to fill them. And so it's been really exciting to get to play that role and to get to have conversations. There was a couple of years ago, the federal government, the national or the Federal Housing Finance Agency had a listening session that I got to go and present at the federal government level to be able to influence financing for these things. And so there's been some just really cool opportunities to get involved beyond, like what you say, beyond just the building of homes, which we'd love to do, to really influence an industry.
What I'm kind of curious, when I met Florentine here on the floor, and she came up to the booth and we started chatting, and I thought, this is super interesting. We have to share this information, because you were suggesting that, a lot of remodelers are trying to get into the space and maybe not understanding it the way. So can you kind of touch on, the remodeler that, does what they do in a traditional sense, and what's different about this, and what needs to be understood about this, right? Because I think that's what they should really know. It's like, hey, if I'm going to do this, what might I need to be doing differently?
And Randy, that's such a really, really great question, because what we've been seeing is that, a lot of our existing custom home builders are building multi-million-dollar high-end custom homes. And that's a far cry from, an ADU, right? It's a very different industry. And so the people that have been filling the demand have been predominantly people who are remodelers, kitchen, bath remodelers. And a lot of times they don't necessarily have the background or experience in home building in terms of, and some of them do, but a lot of them I've found aren't fully adept at reading the plans or working with permitting or getting, the inspections. They maybe don't know a lot about the zoning feasibility that needs to be done, or bringing the utilities in. And so, and then we're also sometimes converting existing garages. You've got a 100-year-old garage and we're turning it into a house. And what's happened where that's kind of has gotten some folks in trouble is that they've significantly underbid jobs. They just don't have the experience yet to know what's going to go into a full home build. And, and people, they've had a few years to learn, but I think a lot of
this
our
underbidding jobs is where that we see probably the biggest challenge of, taking on any new project.
Yeah.
We're very comfortable with what we do, and maybe we're underbidding jobs that we even are comfortable at doing, but then we take on something different. So I think that's a big challenge, and that if we do not do this right and we understand how to price this, get ourselves into trouble fast. And then we look at this and say, oh, this isn't a market that I can play in. Well, It's only because we just haven't figured out the market yet and what the model needs to be, right?
Yeah. Well, and we have found it. So some remodelers have come in and they've learned and they've taken their knocks and they've lost some money on some jobs, but they've learned and they're thriving in the industry. And then we've had others that have said, this isn't for me. This is going to be a 1 to 2 year project. If we're starting with the permitting and it's a lot of headaches and whatnot, and they just end up getting in and getting out. So we've seen both. But it is a bit of a different animal, I think, than remodeling, and so.
But enormous opportunity.
Oh yeah,
enormous opportunity across the country here, and as you said, and something I didn't realize in 10 states already.
Yeah.
Right. So with this opportunity, I think kind of leads to where you are evolving as not just a builder, but what I thought was really cool and to share with our listeners is about the, when you came chatting with us about the strategic advisory role that you would like to kind of, start to look at, investigate how you can dive into the coaching world, right? Mm-hmm. So whether it's on your own or looking for people like ourselves to kind of join forces with, to, help educate people and advise on not just ADUs, but on business and growth and scalability, right? So maybe tell me a little bit about, which I think is super cool for anyone out there as a builder remodeler, that just having the understanding that you don't have to continue to be a builder remodeler forever, right? You can transform, you can do what you wish to do. You can grow into or evolve into becoming a strategic advisor and work. There's a lot of business coaches out there nowadays. You can start your own, or you can join forces, as we're talking about here with possibly with 4 levels. So maybe talk a little bit about, what's the why behind that? I think that's the most important for anybody, and maybe it'll resonate with some people.
I really appreciate that question, and especially focusing on the why, because that's really what drives us. And I think the same why that's moving me into strategic advising for builders is the why that brought me into this business to begin with, which is wanting to solve problems at more of a systemic level. And my master's degree was organizational systems, right? So I'm trained to look at the systems within an organization. And I realized there was a class I had taken years ago. It was a training and organizational development class. And they said that only 4% of problems are people problems. 96% of problems are systems problems. Right?
Yeah.
But you know this. This is what you're trying to
I literally
coach,
just
right?
did a talk here at an education session here at IBS, and at the end of it, the entire thing led to, this is not a people problem, it's a system problem.
It's a system problem.
Just about everything is, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
I love that.
And there are so many things that in our industry, they're challenging to control, and they're not because anyone's not doesn't have good intentions, right? It's because there's disorganization and some chaos that is kind of endemic in our industry, but it doesn't have to be endemic in our business. And so I think if people understand some simple systems that they could put in place, it can actually eliminate some of the chaos, eliminate some of the friction that they're experiencing in their business. So what I really saw is a need for a number of builders who are doing a lot of things right. They're building a good product, and they maybe have some of their systems in place. Maybe they have a project management platform. They've got their accounting system, or they've got some of their pieces in place, but they're still hitting a lot of friction. I see a lot of opportunity in our industry to help those businesses. And you know, I got into this industry to get housing built. And as a builder, I can get so much housing built myself. But if I can go out and influence our industry, if I can help other builders to build more homes, and maybe get some of their time back, have less stress, spend more time with their family.
Check, check.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like if I can help with that, and I know you're in the same boat. You're doing
Yeah,
the same
yeah.
things. Like, let's help people get their life back.
And I think at the end of the day, you correct me if I'm wrong, Florentine, but it's the desire to have a greater impact than I can have in an individual business,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And the truth of the matter is, I think this industry needs more help and support. We don't know what we don't know, and I
don't
think
know what
that's
we don't
the key is that when we are open to understanding or learning the things that I may have as blind spots,
Yeah.
like these system issues, everything changes. But I have to be
100%.
open to it. So a big part of, and look, anybody listening to the podcast, they're listening to the podcast for a reason, because they are open to,
Yeah.
consuming content and changing their life and their world through, whether it's content or whether they're working with somebody else or, in a program like ours or another one. It's because they want to get to that next level and they're trying to search and find that next piece,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And I also believe, a big piece is there's a ton of content, but how are we implementing and what are we doing with that content? So
Yes.
my assumption is, in your world, you see this, people know lots of things, but how do you see, if you were to do the strategic advisory, how do you see how you take what you do and help people actually implement it?
Mm-hmm.
And then I would like to, as we kind of, get into a wrap up on this, is maybe think about 2 or 3 things that somebody can go and implement today. Because on this podcast, I always want people to be leaving with something tangible and actionable, and not just something that I heard that, oh, that's interesting, but I'm not doing anything with it. So,
Exactly.
and can you kind of go down that road?
Yeah. So I think what's important is first to evaluate the business. What is working well, what's not, and where are the greatest lever points, right? Where are the biggest opportunities to
Well
make a difference?
said.
Because builders don't have a lot of time to implement things in their business. They are very busy out in the field, working with the clients, just getting homes built. And so I think you don't want to implement everything all at one time. We need to do one thing at a time. So you want to say, what's that one thing that if I could change that one thing in my business, everything else would be easier or unnecessary. This actually comes from a book called The One Thing by
I know
Gary
it.
Keller and James
Yeah, yeah.
Amazon. But anyhow,
What's the one thing that changes everything?
What's the one thing that changes everything? Exactly. And so, we can go through a whole questionnaire that evaluates all the systems in your business and uncovers all of the areas that could be optimized, right?
Yeah.
But I think if you think about what matters most to me, is it that I want to grow my business and grow my income? Is it that I need to get more time back for myself and my family? Am I going for ease of mind, less stress, being able to sleep at night? Like, what am I trying to gain? And what needs to happen for me to get that? And I think identifying the issue first, identifying, is it that my accounting's a mess and I can't sleep at night because I don't know where my money's going? Is it I don't know how to properly estimate my projects, and until then I don't know if I'm going to make enough on this project to keep everything afloat?
Yeah.
Is it that I don't know where my next client's going to come from? I need to focus on my lead generation. Am I having challenges with hiring, training, and managing a team? Do I need help with my people systems inside my organization? Right? I mean, understand.
I love it. You're
area
touching
that's
on
getting the
every
friction.
single one of the potential friction points that exist.
Yeah.
And if Mitch, can you
selections.
grab me that elephant there?
Or
Right.
interior selections, right? Like that can also be another big friction point.
Yeah. So we have this. We brought it to the show. It sits on my desk behind me when we do
love it.
podcasts of any kind. But at the end of the day, everything you're talking about is wrapped around this. Is what are we trying to do? We're trying to help people eat the elephant, right?
Yes.
And you're saying, what's the one thing? The one thing, it's one bite. We can only eat this thing one bite at a time, right? So if we're going to do this, it's everything you said was just so perfectly structured. We need to understand, what is the bite? How are we going to do that? Then how do we go and execute that bite? and then let's go back to the next bite.
Yes.
Right. And so, no, I love the way you're thinking about strategy and structure. And really, our whole 4-level system is developed and built around everything. I love that you said every one of those points. It's perfect. I mean, the truth of the matter, at the end of the day, there's only so many ways to grow and scale a business.
That's right.
And you've hit on the ones that we need to do. So as we wrap up, I think if we go back to the ADU space, if somebody is trying to get into the ADU space, they want to take advantage of the opportunity of this, growing opportunity that exists today. And there might be a remodeler or custom home builder today. What's the one thing that they need to go and figure out? How are they going to get to that transition?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you're transitioning the business, it's always a good idea to look at the business opportunity and set your hypothetical numbers up. Are the numbers going to work for me? If you're going from being a big custom home builder and you want to do ADUs, you're going to need to do a lot more volume. And so how do you set your business operations up for the more volume? If you're going from being
and make sure your
remodel,
business is actually set up and ready for that transition, right? Like you better be ready for that. Don't take on something if your business isn't already in a scalable way, in a scalable model already.
Randy, at this show, exactly what you said, is my business ready? So you may need something, but you may not have capacity right now to implement it, right? And we want to implement a system that's appropriate, not only for what you need, but for the bandwidth you have to absorb something new. I was talking to a business owner recently, and they were talking about their pain points, and I was asking questions to help uncover a root cause. I mean, at one point they asked for, well, what do you do? What's your software solution? And I was able to provide a software solution.
Mm-hmm.
But in truth, it's not just about finding the right software. It's how do I integrate this software into my organization, into the existing way that we function as a business, right? Because a software is just a software.
Yeah.
It is a platform that can be used. It's like a tool in your tool belt that can be highly effective.
Yeah.
But just the software solution alone isn't the solution. It's how do we set this up and how do we integrate it into our operations, right? That's really going to have it make a difference.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, software is software, but if it's not a workflow, we always say that our systems need to live and breathe within our software, right? So systems are outside, SOPs that are outside. It's like they're never going to work, but we have to. How do we run and operate our business and have them live and breathe within the software?
Yes.
I love that. I think it's beautiful. And just so to me, I think you nailed it. If we are going to transition, is our business ready to transition?
Is our business ready to transition? And what does the opportunity look like? And is that an opportunity I want? And I would say, it's always great to have a coach guide you through any transition, whether it's a new software or transitioning your business offerings. But I also think talking to people in the space and their experience of it. Yeah. There are events, for example, the International Builder Show to speak to other builders. There's opportunities within the ADU industry. Yeah. The ADU Academy, I'm an instructor with them, but the ADU Academy is a great way to interface with other.
And I'm glad all of that just came up. That's what they need to do.
Yeah.
That's where you need to go.
Yeah,
right?
The ADU Academy, I believe there's the next academy is coming up in April of this year, I believe, in Los Angeles.
So we're talking April 2026 or
April 2026.
Toast might be listening to this later.
Exactly.
I love that.
I can probably get people a discount.
Sure.
I wish I had a link ready to go.
Right,
I'm sure I can get something and forward it over to you to get people a discount to attend.
Well, and you mentioned as well, you have a podcast. So tell us what's your podcast, if they want to listen to you or catch you on something else or reach out to you, give us contact information, your podcast, and we'll wrap up.
And thank you for that. And I have to, with much humility, have to say we have just barely launched the podcast.
Oh, cool. Yeah. But you've done, correct me if I'm wrong, you've recorded 5 episodes?
Yes. We've launched
and you've launched the first one?
Published
Perfect.
One,
Beautiful.
But we've recorded about 5 of them. So
awesome.
The podcast is called Pollinating the Good. And we are looking at innovations in housing that are worth sharing.
Innovation in housing that is worth sharing. That's
absolutely.
Awesome.
And this is not so much looking at product. It's looking at what are human beings doing and the innovations that people are coming up with to build better builders and to create tools and systems to help, with the housing crisis, with the housing shortage, with the need to create more attainable housing, with, innovations in infill housing. So I've had the opportunity to talk to some really amazing people that are really game changing in our industry. And as California, we rank 49 out of the 50 states in terms of housing units per capita. Like we're lacking on housing. And so we are leading the way in a lot of the missing middle housing agenda simply because we have the greatest need. And so there's a lot of political will to create housing. The great thing about that, though, is that there are so many people doing great things that we're able to create a roadmap that can then be shared and duplicated in other communities across the country.
Man, that's super cool. And I love the innovation of human beings and being able to, create solutions for our problems is, what makes the world go round. Florentine, it's been amazing. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we ran into each other here just only a few hours ago at the show. Guys, I hope this episode was useful for you. As always, I always say, don't just listen to this. Take some form of action on something that Florentina shared here today. I hope to see you again another day. We'll be talking a whole lot more.
Absolutely.
And check out our podcast, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Hopefully we'll do this. Well, not hopefully. We will be doing this again at IBS 2027. So I hope to see you there as well.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Thank you, Randy.